Okay, here's some interesting archaeology that's coming out of Anatolia. This is a overview picture. I don't know if you can make it out really in here what you think this is off initial thoughts. But off of digging into this mound here that's circular in shape, they found that this is an ancient amphitheater that's meant to mimic the ancient Colosseum in Rome. Pretty good sized here. Hope you'd make it out in the picture, but there are a few things you can see, like these pit holes that are here, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, another that's up here, two that are down here, a square one that's over here, another here and here and here. So this place got looted in ancient times, a few different times, but yet the major structure is still all there. Let's take a look at this. This just came out March 25th, 2021. Archaeologists are astonished to find Roman Colosseum replica in ancient Anatolia. Let's see if I can get this centered a little better for you here, but where you can still read it. While exploring the site of the ancient city of Mastura in western Turkey last summer, archaeologists discovered something remarkable. Partially buried in the earth and further obscured beneath trees and bushes, they were able to identify the unmistakable outline of a large circular amphitheater, built the same distinctive shape as the famed Colosseum in Rome. Initial excavations quickly confirmed the truth. Hidden in an area currently occupied by olive and fig groves, the archaeologist team from Adrian Menderes University in Aydin, Turkey, had indeed found the remains of a Colosseum replica, which had been constructed to host entertainment spectacles during a time when Anatolia, or modern Turkey as we call it, was part of the Roman Empire. Like its renowned counterpart, the empire's capital city, the newly found Colosseum replica would have also hosted bloody battles that pitted man against man, man against beast, and animal against animal. So all of the trappings of the Colosseum too that's on here. But strangely, we're going to find out that it had an exacting size in it too that goes along with sacred geometry that we talked about recently. Amazingly, the Colosseum replica was found to be largely intact, protected from decay and destruction by its earthen and vegetable covering. The ruins of Roman amphitheaters have been found in Turkish territory before, but only traces of these ancient structures remain due to natural erosive forces and the ravages of looters. So here we're seeing a first picture of it here when you're looking at it, and you can tell that these arches are cut off in here and leading in like some type of football stadium type situation. But if you'll look here, they've got another one here, so they've got two levels, this one bricked off, and then down at another level here where it goes into the next section. This one perhaps goes into the wall. I don't know how it's laid out. They don't have it all configured just yet. Pretty interesting. Classic Roman arches found at the Roman Colosseum replica in western Turkey, or what we used to call Asia Minor. Turkey's Colosseum replica, there's no previous example of such an amphitheater in Anatolia and its immediate surroundings, declared archaeologist Arkanaz, the Mastura excavation team leader. It's only example that has survived in its very solid way. So in other words, they have found a bunch of other ones types, but this is the only one that's really intact to a level that this one is. Most of the amphitheater is under the ground, he says. The sections under the ground are very well preserved and it's solid as if it was just built. Searching through the stadium's subterranean sections, the archaeologists found many structurally sound and well-preserved rooms which would have been occupied by gladiators, important guests, venue administrators, and event planners. Arched entryways and vaulted ceilings revealed an indisputable link to the signature construction of the style of Roman architects who set standards that loyal provincial authorities did their best to emulate. So here's some more of these many Roman arches that are seen leading into it, and again you can see a secondary lead in here which is all still covered up with rubble. that's on it. In the parts of the building above ground, some of the rows of seats, the arena where the gladiators fought, and the supporting walls outside the building are visible, he added. So they're starting to get through this thing in short time. I can't wait for more to come out on it, but the circular design of the Mistura Amphitheater is relatively unique. Most Roman amphitheaters were built in a half moon or semicircular shape, but it seems the architects of this particular structure were anxious to demonstrate their fealty to the classic design principles established by the builders of the Colosseum in Rome in the 1st century AD. The dimensions of this long-lost building are quite impressive. It measures approximately 330 feet or 100 meters in diameter and features walls that are 50 feet tall at their highest points. While precise calculations of seating capacity are difficult to obtain, Arcurnus estimates that the amphitheater could have held between 15,000 and 20,000 people when it was fully packed. This is dwarfed by the 50,000 to 70,000 seat capacity of the Colosseum in Rome, but it would have been perfectly suitable for the less densely populated regions of Anatolia. In fact, it would have been quite the sight, and quite large it's showing here. It's not going to start doing this to me again, is it? Come on, reload. Okay, the next thing to see is another picture of the side of it here. Let me get down to it. And so, if we're looking at an amphitheater, what we're seeing is over here is the real amphitheater and the way it leads up. So here's the first area down here, the second area, and then the bleachers. What it's missing off the Colosseum is having another structure up here and another set of people being able to be all up here. Also in the girth of the size of the whole thing in the first place, and it's oval. But it's exactly 100 meters around, and so now we're going off of sacred architecture numbers and situations that you probably find all over this place and the way it's built and its sizing and so on. You can see how well the brickwork's done in here in a mortalist type fashion too. And this fancy gateway that's leading into it here, and these sub gateways that are all leading down into this area here. So this has got levels to it and a basement type area that's all up under it too. This is known as the left entrance of the ancient theater in Miletus, Turkey. It's rebuilt on a Greek site, it says, it's Greek, of the Roman Emperor Trajan, another testament of Roman presence in Anatolia and what they left behind. So they're going to clean this thing up here, and I hope to get a good look at it here and have somebody fly around in it with a drone and so on, and all over the sides here. There's all kinds of column work that's right here. I take that out of the way, you can see them all over in the side. They're all broken into pieces. Of course, they're all made in sections in the first place. The Severan dynasty in Anatolia is in impending decline. Based on the stonework and masonry techniques that were used during the construction, the archaeologists conclude that the Colosseum replica had been built sometime during the reign of the Severan dynasty, which ruled the Roman Empire from 193 to 235 AD. So this is after the conquest of the Jerusalem area by the Romans and stuff that we hear about in the Bible, and of course after that and what became Armageddon and so on. At this time, the small city of Mistura was part of the Anatolia's Asia province and would have been approximately equidistant between several largest cities in the area. Mistura may have been designed as a kind of recreation center where Anatolians could come and witness gladiator fights and attend plays or concerts at the local theater. The partially preserved remains of the later are located above ground and were identified long ago. So this place was kind of in between a few local towns, it seems, but I bet that there's some remnants other than just it out in the middle of nowhere. I know now in our modern cities that we try to build a stadium out a little bit, but quite often, like what happened here in Dallas, Houston, and all kinds of other places, when you build it off over here a little bit, everything grows around it, and then all of a sudden it's not out anymore, is it? This is the way a town swallows up and moves in certain directions, sometimes for something as simple as that. There's no way to tell how often the stadium was actually used after construction was complete. Presumably, expectations were high when the building project was initially approved, or they wouldn't have done it to such a level. Since the province, oh my God, it's got to quit doing this. This reloading for a no reason. I'll try to cut that out. There's no way to tell how often the stadium was actually used after construction was complete. Presumably, expectations were high when the building project was initially approved, since the province of Asia was relatively prosperous in the early 3rd century, but after the last Severan emperor, Severus Alexander, was murdered by his own troops in 235, the entire Roman Empire entered a period of extreme crisis that was destined to have a profound impact on its holdings or ability to have holdings in Anatolia. In the 50 years after Severus Alexander's death, 26 different men lay claim to the throne of the emperor. So it was a cutthroat thing that went back and forth quite a bit through here. The crisis of legitimacy and ensuring disorder that engulfed the Roman political system after the fall of the Severan dynasty was both a cause and a symptom of the crisis of the 3rd century, which nearly led to the permanent dissolution of the whole empire. This is a different site known as Aspendos in present-day Turkey. It's known for its well-preserved theater. And you can see here that it's even smaller, but it's a half or a horseshoe type shape, and everything would have taken place on the stage that everyone's facing and wouldn't have been in the round, if you will, although it is a half round. The theater provided seating for about 7,000 people. It was built in 155 AD by the Greek architect Xenon, a native of the city, during the rule of Marcus Aurelius Antonius, who was Roman Empire from 161 to 180, the last of the rulers, known as the 5 Good Emperors. And so this is another amphitheater. If you want to say there's no amphitheaters, now here's one right here. But if we'll look at it too, this whole hill right here is packed up against it now, all the way to its top on this side. But on the other side, just in the distance, you can see some olive groves and so on, some mountains in the distance. It might even have some very ancient stuff that's in it too. For anything that was ancient that was in this area has all been chewed away a long time ago, and any stonework that was there was probably absconded and then used in the building of this for its convenience. Out in front of here is a real good flat platform too that has a few of the very bottoms of some columns too. So one wonders if not out front that there was not a whole domed type of or building with a top on it here that was under ability for the people before they go in to hang out here and so on. And believe me, they didn't build this whole place right this for just these 5 or 6 farmer families that live right here in this valley. That's what goes on now is not went on then in this area, like so many places and so many cultures we see today. The decline of Roman Empire and the Colosseum replica. The cascade of troubles that hit the Romans and Anatolians in the 3rd century AD, including barbarian invasions, civil warfare and unrest, peasant rebellions, and the Antoine plague of measles or smallpox that swept across Roman lands and left millions of dead bodies in its wake, really screwed things up over time. Like this is really screwing me up every time it tries to do this for some reason. So let me just get down here. I may try to edit this too. It's going to take, what, 6 multiple edits on this already. This confluence of factors, plus political mismanagement in general, plunged the empire into a prolonged economic depression that caused a major decline in the fortunes of the cities of Anatolian area and the province of Asia in particular. This region of the empire never again came close to matching its peak prosperity, and in the 4th century it was divided up into multiple small provinces. Well, Asia had already gone under from the Greeks, or where after Alexander it got divvied up and then held on to for a period of time, but then the Romans took that, and what became of it is it dwindled and dried up, and everybody moved towards greener pastures. Amphitheater Mestur was obviously constructed with the expectation that the good times would continue during the time it was built. Given the economic troubles that beset the region sometime shortly after its completion, this grand edifice may have sat empty and unused for much of the time, since the spectacles of it were designed to host would have been too costly and financially strapped for promoters to sponsor. In the economically challenged post-Severan area, this newly built structure may have been dismissed as wasteful expenditure and a sign of Roman decadence, where they had just, well, look at you buying all this stuff and doing all these things. Well, nobody knew it was falling apart, but quite often when people had things falling apart, they kept going as though nothing had even happened or was happening. And quite often that can be the cause of things. We've talked about that in recent things that go along with that too. Here we find another little gaping mouth that looks like a catfish laying on the ground somehow, but the whole bottom of this hasn't even been excavated, for this was a whole tunnel leading through and into this edifice also. Preservation work to continue in coming months. During the remainder of 2021, archaeologists who unearthed the Mastaba Amphitheater will begin conservation and preservation work on its most vulnerable sections. There are cracks in the walls of the building and some masonry stones are falling off, he explained. In April, we will first conserve the walls of the building, protecting the building against decay and deterioration. So it's in fantastic shape, but they, don't want to have something falling down. And if they're going to have people come and won't be able to walk through this thing, it's going to have to be put to a certain point too. After that process is complete, Askarnaz and his team will launch a series of geophysical surveys at the site to gain more information about what the structure looks like underground. In addition to the support they were receiving from the local government nearby town of Nazilli, the archaeologists are also cooperating closely with Turkey's Ministry of Culture and Tourism in this important excavation project. It's pretty cool. Nazilli, huh? Ely has to do with the gods and Elu that were around there, and the Illyrians and stuff that we talked about. And Naz, just going to leave that one alone, I guess. Big old Roman arch here on this, though. You can see earth is crushing it down somewhat, but no, this inside, it looks like once you get into there, it's all opened up quite a bit. Although there's quite a bit of trash in certain places, I'm certain. So, anyhow, like, share, and subscribe, and enjoy. And let me know what you think down there in the comments as we look here further. And hopefully there'll soon be some other video confirmation of this coming out that I can share with you, because this is all kind of intriguing at this point, I'm sure, to most of us, especially when we look at the size of this and its girth. But it also makes me wonder what's around it in certain places. And they mention a grove, olive groves and things, but there's so much here that maybe they can find remnants of certain things, although a lot of the stonework would have been stolen from around here and used for certain things. Peace.